Before we get started, just a quick note, spoiler alert.
And we are adults, and I will try very hard not to use adult language, but this is the warning. Sure.
Move my hair out of the way. I was trying to put it up because normally I could just tie it up in a bun with my hands, and it just didn't want to work today. I was like, whatever, hair, you rude ass. Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to Fright Bites. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Sedina. Each episode, we will feature a short story or novella. You can read along with us by finding the full reading list posted on our website, lastlibraryontheleft.com, or our social media at LLOTL Podcast.
And today we are talking about The Factory Witches of Lowell. It's by C.S. Malerich? Malerich?
Or Malerich?
Malerich? I'm sorry, author. I didn't look up the pronunciation of your name.
There's Chainsaw's big fat.
I know. Hey, Chainsaw. Oh, gosh.
Nope, don't rub up against the mic. Stop.
It was published in 2020 by Tor.com.
There's a couple coming up that are not printed by Tor.com. So this has not become the Tor.com podcast, although it very well could be.
Whenever I'm writing something else and it's not Tor, I was like, wait, what? I'm so confused. Just a quick summary on this one. The Mill Girls of Lowell go on strike with a Lucky Charm. And that's all I wrote.
That's a good summary. Okay, so I did have one problem. I loved the book. I really did. It was great. But I had one problem where at one point the conjuring that they did, the craft that they did, was dismissively called kitchen magic by one of the other girls. And I was like... It's like kitchen magic. I was like, what a sexist way to put it. Kind of dismissive in the effect and the intention, because it's just a bunch of women. Y'all are even working in a y'all are oh my god, it frustrated me.
Yes.
So a little mad about that. But other than that, for the most part, I really enjoyed the book.
When a female writes about it, I know why they're writing about that kind of stuff, to educate others and show them that that's offensive.
And
that's
she probably has the background of it. And I mean, the fact that she wrote the town of Lowell to the point where I stopped taking notes because I have been to Lowell many times and I was just immersed in walking the streets again. And so I assume she's got that very deep knowledge. So the fact that she called it kitchen magic, I don't think was meant to be dismissive. I think it was just her using the phrasing of the time.
Yeah, probably. I like when you get immersed in things like that, because I remember when you first recommended Ghosts in the Burbs to me, and you're like, I walked down some of those streets. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's very weird because I am one of those readers that can visualize the scenery as I read, but it's even more uncanny, I guess, when I've also done it in real life. I like it. It's weird, but cool. But The Witches of Lowell, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I even liked Mrs. Hanson, and it felt like such a cute little story about unions, you know, unions and witchcraft and female empowerment and breaking capitalism or attempting to make a living from it. And it just was really cute and fun.
I also enjoyed the book, not as much as some of the others that we've read. I like the empowerment of the females in the book. I also really liked when they struggled, because one struggled because her family wasn't doing too well, and she had that inner conflict of, should I go back to work to help my family, or, you know, and I really liked that because it happens, and it was really a fun read. I did have one issue. There was a part in the book where the subject came up, which maybe I'm talking about it too soon, but I'm going to say it now. The subject came up as to why slaves didn't use magic, and it was almost like a throwaway sentence.
No, they talked about them using magic.
Well, I thought they said that they didn't use magic because they didn't necessarily belong.
No, what it was that so Hannah was talking with Judith about why they couldn't bewitch the looms themselves. And Hannah was like, it's one thing for us to bewitch our own hair because that's ours, we own it. She's like, but the looms are not ours. Yes, we work with them and they do our work, but we didn't buy them, we don't own them, they belong to the men in Boston. And so their inherent loyalty by nature would be to the men who bought them. And she was saying that the slaves in the South, they owned the cotton in so much as because they were the ones who picked it, but like that was not their cotton. Like the land didn't belong to them. Nothing that they worked with belonged to them because they were slaves. The way Hannah put it was, of course they know magic. If they could influence the cotton they picked to destroy their white masters, they would have done it long ago. She's like, they would have woven it into the cotton immediately. She's like, but the cotton doesn't belong to them, so the cotton won't listen to them. And I was like, huh. She wasn't saying that they couldn't do magic. She was just saying that inherently the type of craft that, at least that she does, the same folk magic wouldn't work with slaves because the slaves worked, they didn't work. They were slaves.
That one was a problematic. I was like, just leave that out.
I think that it ignored the folk magic that Africans have already and the folk magic that they developed once they were here, especially as their folk magic kind of intermingled with Christianity. And we got different versions of folk magic here in the South. Kind of got what she was trying to say. Well, I'd really love to read a story where cotton was cursed.
Oh, yes.
It actually made, I like pulled my shirt that I was wearing and like kind of looked at it.
Yeah, that was my only there was some problem. Obviously, overly sexist language towards the women, rude. We had our typical religious white male, which I would be shocked if there was never a typical religious white male in a book. Give me that.
Well, especially in a book set in this time.
Yeah.
The thing about Mr. Boot, too, that really got me was that he was trying to convince himself that he was doing the right thing and that he was such a savvy businessman or third party or whatever. And he was like, which other employer not only provides beds to his workers, but tells them clearly when to be in and out of those beds? And I was like, bro, that is not a good thing.
He thought he was taking such initiative.
I was like, there is so much pride and arrogance over the idea of controlling women. In the same paragraph that you were like, I allow them to have the freedom to provide for themselves as I give them a quarter raise, but also charge them a quarter more for rent and also dictate their sleeping habits. Also, they have to go to church and sign a contract that they'll go to church. I was like, bro, you you're the problem. And men like you were still the problem. Because so much of this I read and I was like, wow, just hundreds of years later, fucking problem.
Yeah. I didn't write much about it because, like you, I just enjoyed the book.
Fun fact. So, because I told this to Jennifer in pre-production, one of the reasons why I gave up writing notes was because as I was reading, especially when they named the building they lived in, the Merrimack Mill, I was like, wait, Merrimack? I know Merrimack. And so I was like, wait. And then they described the building and I was like, wait. So I looked it up. I was like, that's the mill that was turned into lofts. And I was like, oh, and then across the street is mill number 5, which is the mill that is like now like a little mall and it's really cute and like kitschy and stuff. And they have like local farmers and stuff that open up stuff. I was like, huh, I know exactly where they're talking about. I've walked the same literal paths these people are describing, the footbridges, everything. It was so weird, but cool.
It's really fun when the setting of the book is placed somewhere that's familiar to you. Whenever a book takes place in like Houston or Canada, because I read a lot of Texas authors. So whenever there's a book that's taken place in state, I'm just like, I know where that is. I guess it makes it a little bit more real to you, the reader. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It helps really immerse you. And then I start to feel bad for the people who don't see things in their head when they read. Like, that is such a strange idea.
Such a strange idea.
Why are they reading then? If you can't envision the story, why? I mean, please, God, read. Don't get me wrong. But also, what are you getting out of it if you can't imagine the story? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I were just staring at a page and not able to imagine the story, what would be the point of staring at a page to read?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know because there are people that imagine the story, but they still don't get enjoyment out of it, which is, again, that's another weird,
That's very true.
How is that possible? I don't know. Like, I can't answer that question.
If anybody listening reads for pleasure, but lacks that visual imagination aspect that, you know, a lot of research is coming out about lately, let us know. What is the process there? What's going on?
Do y'all dream?
Just a couple other things, because this must be Fright Bite, and I definitely went off the rail. Mr. Boot, he's like scoffing at the idea of a union, and he's like, unions, oh, they want a war. And I was like, no, they just want fair wages, not to be jerked around. And I was like, so what you're doing is that you're admitting that capitalists are abusive to their employees and predatory and their practices. And I was like, that seems like you're admitting to being the bad guy. Didn't seem to notice that on his part.
Your notes are so funny.
Also, he said something really rude about Mrs. Hanson.
Oh, wait, what did he say?
When she went to go talk to him about on behalf of the girls, where she was like, well, why don't you just sign the thing? And he was like, well, why would I do? And they got into this like really big argument.
Yeah.
He was being, about it. When she first sat down in front of him, he was like, I don't understand why she's here. Why would she side with them? She's way too old to have youthful humors anymore. And I was like, excuse me, what now?
I totally read over that. But you know what? I think I was mad because I thought she was agreeing with him. At one point, it seemed like she was about to turn on the girls. At least that's what we were made to believe as the reader. And I was like, this lady, I trusted this lady. I was very upset at her. So I probably read over that, thank God, because I would have been fixated on it already.
And in the story, when he specifically was like, she lacks the youthful humors to be able to do this. And then he was like, look at the lines around her face. And I was like, bro, fuck you.
Has he looked in a mirror? Because I'm sure he's not youthful looking himself, okay? Like, shut up.
Oh my God, it was, he made me mad. And at the very end, when the three Boston gentlemen who owned the local mills were getting Mr. Boot fired or whatever, letting him go, they were having this really super casual conversation for what they were talking about. And one of them was like, well, why can't we just enslave them like they do in the South? And the other one was like, do you really want Black people here? The way he made it sound. And he was like, so we have to find another way. And so they were intentionally discussing ways to abuse and prey upon their employees in the future, whether or not they're unionized. Capitalism does not change.
No, it does not. It really does not. If anything stays true to its form, it's capitalism.
Right.
But for the most part, I really enjoyed this. I loved our main character. I loved Judith because Judith was like, we can do this. She reminded me a little bit of you. Like, we've got this. And Hannah was just like, okay. Hannah kept asking her the same question over again. And Judith's like, I don't have time for this. Like, why are you asking me this again? Because Judith did not want to admit that she liked Hannah.
Hannah was like, are you in love? And she was like, I don't have time for this. Until the very end, she was like, and are you in love? And she was like, yeah, of course I am. I love you.
So cute. I really kind of felt for Hannah too a little bit because I feel like she was really pushing herself. And she reminds me of so many women that I've encountered in my life who just are drudging through the days and pushing themselves and doing the best that they can. And poor Hannah was put through the ringer for the sake of this union fight. I love that even though Judith knew that some of her friends were probably going to turn on her, that she stayed strong. She lost it a little bit, but she stayed strong towards the end. And I really loved how empowering she was. This is a really good historical book that talks about unions. I really loved the unionized part of it because we always hear it from like the male point of view. And so this was really nice to see it. And then to have a queer story on it was really nice. I really liked it.
Same. I really liked a lot of the layers that you just talked about. I really, really like the idea of being unionized, especially as far as women's rights in the workplace.
Yeah.
If we had a union, I'd be a part of it for sure.
Yeah. I've never been a part of a union, so I would be one just to see what it's like. My dad is part of a union because he works for the airport, and I'm always so envious. Like, what's it like, Dad? What do you do? What happens? And he doesn't tell me anything.
So like us who work for an entity that has, I mean, fairly decent protections built in as far as benefits, but to be unionized and to have even better benefits, because I'm thinking of like women's benefits. Where I worked before, women got 1 year's worth of paid maternity leave.
That's really nice.
Because what is it here? Like 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about unions, is that they protect all of the workers' rights as far as time, compensation. I don't know. I think that this misunderstanding of unions is definitely a capitalist. They are the ones who like wage the war, you know?
Yeah, because when I was growing up, I always thought it was like, oh, you shouldn't be in a union. That's not good. And then when my dad moved to the airlines where he works and he was in his, I was like, oh, they don't do bad things there. Just so demystifying. Like, oh, okay, they protect you. Great. That's great, Dad.
Yeah, I think that one famous union guy who was murdered because he was in league with the mafia, like they use that story to demonize unions every time. It's like, that's not what it is.
No.
Guys, don't believe your capitalist overlords.
Yeah. Capitalist overlords. Because When you say that, I'm like, oh, Target, what are they telling me? That's my capitalist overlord. Target. Oh, what a tangent. I don't really have much to say except I enjoyed it. It was a fun read. It was completely different, I feel, from all the other ones that we read.
Yeah, it was very light, very fun, felt more like a Union novel than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, the horror and the magic were kind of there, but not really, because you've got
Mhm.
the inner workings between all of the individuals within the union and the caretaker of the household, and then the other guys, which I never remember names. Sorry, y'all. I'm bad with names. I'm so bad with names. Like, mom brain is a real thing.
I think you're very smart. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, if you guys are looking for lighter horror, I
Mhm.
guess this is probably one of the ones. It's even lighter than Silver in the Wood.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I think it's definitely lighter than Silver in the Wood. Silver in the Wood was just fun.
Yeah, Silver in the Wood was fun, but Fabian and the Fae Queen were both terrifying in their
Very
own right.
scary. Yeah. And the whole kidnapping part too. Yeah. This is definitely a lot lighter than that.
We hope you like it. It was nice and chill.
Yeah. This is airing the last week of October. So we're like
Yeah.
the last of it, guys. So hope y'all are having fun. Like, I can't wait. We're having so much fun. And then you go back to twice a month hearing our voices instead of every day. What are y'all gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'm going to try to rediscover sleep.
Yeah. How are we gonna do this again next year? We'll figure it out. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
If you liked listening to us ramble on about horror, subscribe to our podcast and tell your friends. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at LLOTL Podcast.
Check out our website by going to lastlibraryontheleft.com. Be sure to visit our About Us page to discover our 2 truths and a lie. Or, if you'd like to send us an email, you can reach us at somethingwicked@lastlibraryontheleft.com.